exactly would happen and how we would kind of handle the situation if we were in church, and we specifically meant at the seminary chapel, and some sort of natural disaster were to break out. And at the time it was kind of, I believe it was raining pretty heavily, there were pretty dynamic winds, and so what if, a tornado struck, or, a fire, or something like that. And as we're debating, exactly how we would handle it, like, do you interrupt the liturgy? Do you kind of move everything? You have it all prepared. It'd be quite a shame to just kind of cut it in the middle. What would we do? And we kind of narrowed it down that the seminary basement's pretty safe, so we could just move down there. But what exactly would we bring? How would we continue? Do you just bring the chalice and hope for the best? And our prefect kind of intervened, having heard enough of us kind of babbling back and forth, and he said, you could ask a priest who's right here. And he informed us that all you would need is to kind of bring the antimensian from the altar down. You bring everything else you need, and if you're really, really quick, you can bring some candles, and that's all you really need. That's all that the altar is, essentially. And what I'll be bringing after this gospel, what I'll be opening up on the altar, is that same antimensian. And the point of it, for the most liturgical function, is to receive the gifts. It is to be the proper and the perfect place for the consecration of the gifts that we partake of every Sunday. And the reason that we have that this is kind of the penultimate, really stands to exactly what the church is. I asked my Sunday school students this morning, what is the church? Is it this building that we are in? And the defiant answer is no. Much as we come here, much as we love this place, and it's beautiful, and it is a sacred and a holy place, if we didn't have it, the church would still be here. Because the church is us. It is the people. That's why all you need for the divine liturgy is an antimensian, and you can lay it anywhere. That's how we had divine liturgies at camp before there was a church built. We just laid an antimensian on a table in the pavilion, or out on the cross shrine if the weather was really good enough. That's how churches all over in their mission status, as they're trying to get things going, can have divine liturgy wherever it's best fit. And that's how, when dealing with persecution, our ancestors had divine liturgy in people's barns or in caves, so that they couldn't be found worshiping God and be martyred. Because the church is not the four walls, it is us as people. And I wanted to bring this up specifically today because I noted we're having an annual meeting, and it's important that it's not just a meeting of us as people coming to get business done together. It is the church, still unified, still working for the best interest of the church, of itself. And the reason that we know that this church is so unified, so important, and it exists with us, not with a building and not with a place, is from the Feast of Pentecost. And I'll probably talk more about it when it comes time when we actually have that feast day. It's by far my favorite of the liturgical cycle. But on Pentecost, the one thing that we have to remember, the one thing about the church, is that we were gathered in one accord. And if you're asked what your faith is, the best way to answer somebody is to recite the Nicene Creed. And that's why before the creed is said, my line, essentially, is in one accord, so that with one accord we may confess. And all it means is together. We are all on the same page. We all believe the same thing. Here we are, unified. And that is the entirety of the church that we were given at Pentecost. The disciples were gathered in one accord, and thus the church began. Thus the Holy Spirit saw fit to come, to give them tongues of fire so that they may preach everything about the Lord. And so, I wanted to sort of call attention and remembrance of that today, that the church is not just the four walls, it is not the building, it is not a sacred site. The church is us. And without us, the building just goes back to becoming a building. You could look across the country, and without people inhabiting a church, we have empty churches becoming all sorts of other stuff. Most notably, there's a lot of breweries that are starting up in church. People love the ambiance in here, and we can really see why. But it's just a building now. There's not the people. There's not the church that fills it. And so, as we meet today downstairs, I pray that we all keep in mind that this is not just a business meeting. This is still a continuation of this liturgy we celebrate here. It is the church still meeting together. It is the entirety of us unified and in one accord. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Glory be to Jesus Christ.
Amen.